Hey, everybody, and welcome as the room fills in to the Real Black 21 Rules of Blackness podcast. As if you don't know already, YouTube's demonetized the channel. So any donations that you make will help us continue to grow and continue to do what we need to do to get the truth out to you, because that's what we're about. We always tell the truth. So welcome to the Real Black podcast. I'm going to take this disclaimer, and I'm going to introduce the Real Black podcast co-host, Mr. Eric Payne. Hey there, hi
What's
there.
up, everybody?
You got your
What's up,
Giants hat on. What's going on, man?
Man, I'll take it off if it'll get you in trouble.
No, because the Eagles are going to continue to beat you, so you can wear that hat all day long.
I don't. I didn't forget, but I wasn't really thinking about that because we want to whoop your ass. You my boy, but
the room's filling up. It's been a long time no see. And I'm going to bring Jason in now. Jason Clue, who is the author of 21 Rules of Blackness. Make sure that you get the book so that you can stay on code.
Hey.
And it's late in the UK. So this is going to hopefully be a short session, but we're going to entertain. So we're going to go through our discussion, and then we're going to entertain the chat, as well as it's been getting a lot of comments since this morning in the comment section for this video and for the trailer. So we have a lot to talk about. But before we get into the chat, how are you doing, Jason?
I'm okay. I was out a bit earlier. I was out with brother-in-law and his fiance. Went out for a meal. Went out for an Indian meal. Very tasty. Very good.
Sounds
and
good.
then came back. So I've got a nice cup of coffee here. It's late where I am.
Yeah, was it like one?
It will take as long as it takes. So there's no rush. Yeah.
Okay,
We're not going to cut any corners for our viewers.
Right. Okay. Well, we're going to try and avoid the chat, ladies and gentlemen, until we get going. But I'll go back. So I see a lot of familiar faces there. I don't want to name names because I don't want to leave anybody out. But welcome. We're on a Saturday, and before we jump into it, I just wanted to say I didn't get a chance to see Black Adam. Did that open in the UK yet, Jason? Or
I don't think so.
The Rock. I mean,
yeah,
it's a big movie.
The film. Yeah, maybe. I haven't checked actually. I didn't see what was open in this.
Well, I segue that. You have to. I haven't had a chance to see it yet, so no review on that.
I will give it a watch. I do like a superhero film from time to time. Yeah, I think it did. I think it did open yesterday. Yeah,
it's a global thing. But I did get a chance to see Till, and we're going to be posting a Q&A with the director Chinonye Chukwu next week when it opens nationally. It's open in select cities now. It's about Mamie Till, Emmett Till's mother, who had to go through the trauma of sending her kid away to the South and never having him return home, which continues to be a familiar story, in today. Parents of teenagers today send their kids out and they're not always sure that they're going to come home safe. Yeah. So it's a very fitting movie. I highly recommend it, especially if you're a fan of Chinonye's previous work, Clemency. I mean, it's a tough sit. I don't, if you can imagine. And, but they're making a big point of saying that it begins with joy and ends with joy, so, hopefully, you're not leaving just feeling hopeless. But go ahead.
I wish I'd known that the director was your friend, because I actually auditioned for that role. But as I was I don't know if I told you the other night we were talking, but
okay, yeah.
But I was wrong for the part, happy for the brother that got it. But
okay, no, it's a good film. It's 100% Rotten Tomatoes, fresh, and but it's a tough sit. It's a tough sell. I recommend people check it out just for the performance of Danielle Deadwyler and the direction of Chinonye Chukwu. And I think the one thing I can say about it, unlike some of the civil rights movies from the Obama era, where like The Help,
oh gosh,
Hidden Figures, where they treated these kind of racial injustices as something that we've overcome, and now we have a black president. And isn't it great that we've overcome these racist white supremacist standards? This one reinforces the fact that this is still going on. So I think anyone who goes to see Till, it leaves open a topic for discussion, and hopefully after you guys have a chance to see it, maybe we'll have a chance to discuss the movie some more. But
that was I just want to say briefly about Emmett Till. That happened about 4 years before I was born. I think it was 1956, if I'm not mistaken.
August 55.
55, and any of us that are alive that came across, I as a kid saw that jet feature, and that never forgot that jet picture of the heroic, now as we know it, thing of his mother wanting his casket open so the world could see the brutality and the savagery what these people did to her son. And
right.
Even as a young man, I was a kid, as many of us were, and I'm sure a lot of people in the chat, always seared into my mind that image of Emmett Till and of his face, and also what they did to him in the open casket.
Right, and it's done very tastefully in the film. I think, well, obviously in terms of history, that one image from Jet Magazine changed the landscape of everything. It shifted the entire civil rights movement.
Absolutely.
I mean, there are a lot of things happening around the same time, but that image is crucial, and it's great that there's finally a narrative motion picture about the Emmett Till story. And I understand Adengabe that it might be something you might want to wait until you get home, or when it comes available for home to be able to see. But it's really well done movie. And then I spent the afternoon cleaning. I don't know, Jason or Eric, if you had a chance to see Kanye. We talked about Kanye a couple weeks ago, right, Jason? And he continues to be on the parade of things. Drink Champs and Chris Cuomo, and most recently the full interview with Piers Morgan dropped on YouTube. Now, the Drink Champs interview was, I guess, censored or
it's been taken down.
Censured. So they took it down. You can still see it. They're not blocking it for whatever reason.
No, they are taking it down when other people are posting it, though.
There's hundreds of thousands of views on YouTube still.
Yeah. Well, there's ones that had millions, and with them have been taken down, and then other people are putting it up because it's still out there.
Well, the official video had hit like 1 million in the first day, I think, and I knew they're going to take that shit down. No disrespect.
Did you watch it? Did you watch the 3 hours?
I sat through the 3 hours. I can't say I was glued to it. It was on. I was listening. But there are things I can do with my 3 hours that are just more worth my time. But I did pay attention to it. I listened to what he had to say, and I don't know. I thought the Piers Morgan interview was more interesting because there was less inebriation involved. He wasn't high, he wasn't drinking, he was making his case, whatever that case can be. I don't necessarily, and I listen to both sides of it. I think he is intentionally destroying his career by speaking out the way he is. But he seems to be fully aware of it, and his rationale, his reasoning behind it is interesting to say the least. I don't know if you guys had a chance to check it out.
You think he's fully aware of what he's doing, Mike? I think that he's sick.
I think he's sick. I think he was sick well, make your point, and then I'll clarify what I mean.
I think that he is sick, and I think that a lot of, not necessarily someone like Nori, or maybe people from our community that, and maybe there are some, I don't want to be as make a sweeping statement like that, but I don't think that Nori was trying to take advantage of, nor do I think that, I don't know if he was on with Charlemagne and those guys, whoever's interviewing. But I think, that's clickbait. And him and Herschel, they don't have the intellectual capacity. I'm not saying that they're ignorant. Their intellectual ability of the information to comment on certain things. You can see it's like hearing a lot of information, a little bit of information of a lot of different things, and not being able to put them in context, the correct context. And so for me, politically active family and socially active from the civil rights years, from that perspective, I know that these brothers are talking from a perspective they really don't understand really the intricacies and the depth of the things. And when you're in a powerful position or a famous position, you do come across a lot of people. You come across information, celebrities, certainly politicians and people like that, are exposed information that the general public might not be, and have opportunities to see and do things, obviously, because of your wealth and your fame and all of that comes along with it. You're exposed to things that everybody doesn't, is not aware of. And in that, it's a little bit of everything. And you could tell the individuals who are really aware of what they're talking about and what's going on and have given it some real study and research. That's what I'm talking about, to really be able to study and research the subject so you can understand the context. It's okay to everybody has an opinion, but understand the context that you're making the statements in. And I think between that and Kanye's sufferings, I think mental issues. And I think it's despicable how people, some of these other folks are taking advantage of that. And I see the same thing happening with Herschel Walker. I mean, that's politics, so we're not going to get off into that. Mm-hmm. But Kanye is a genius. And we all recognize, a lot of people recognize that a long time ago. Some people don't think necessarily that he is, but I saw a documentary of him a long time ago when his mother was still alive. And he was talking about the performing arts school he went to and some of the artwork that he did. And he described how he painted music or what it's meant to him. It was really interesting. And you saw that this kid, he had that at least that aptitude or that possibility. You don't want to call him a genius or whatever, but a very has a good, great perspective, had a good, interesting perspective, not great perspective, interesting perspective on certain things. But you just wish that education had been a little bit that, like Tupac had the education of what he was talking about. Mm-hmm. He came up in that, and so he was raised with that knowledge, a little bit better understanding. So that's what my issue. I don't really pay attention to what Kanye says anymore because I think, some people in his life are taking advantage of him.
Well, do you think he's a pawn of the religious right? I mean, he in his mind, he believes like he had a calling from God or something. I'm paraphrasing his own words, but he believes that he's been anointed to be the president of the United States at some point in time. And it seems to me that he's aligned himself with people like Candace Owens, and those who are part of that religious right think tank to be pro-Christian and go against Jews.
Really, the religious right to me is that's like another phrase for white supremacy.
True.
I mean, pretty much. That's what I've been on the public record on the blog talk radio show that I have, saying that when they talk about evangelicals, that's really white people who choose to say they're religious or Christians, but they are kind of racist at hand too. That's like the old people that were slave owners and they were Christians and they preached to slaves that it is your God commanded you to be slaves. That's what that is. And so unfortunately, what happens, I think, in our community of born again Christians and stuff like that, I don't have any problem with that. But if everybody's going to be Christian, I used to be watching the TBN channel, was going to church and was trying to be born again and stuff. But when I see individuals on that channel in Cali, and if you're out in Cali, and those are the same individuals that come out supporting Trump a little bit later on, but in their churches and building their following, they have a lot of Black people that are coming to see them talk. But years later, lo and behold, we find out that many of those individuals are conservative. They support things that disproportionately harm our people. So, you can say you're not prejudiced, you can say you're not anti someone, but if you do things that disproportionately, if you support things that disproportionately affect one group negatively and you don't know about it, fine. But once you know, once you know better, you're supposed to do better, right?
True.
And that's really where we're going to find out who's who.
Mm-hmm.
Did you watch the? Did you see the Drink Champs, Eric?
I didn't watch the whole thing, but I saw the clips of it, and I chime into Dream Champs.
Yeah, I think like for me, watching that, there was a lot of things that he said in there which made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And watching that you don't come away from that thinking he's a madman. You come away thinking this guy. You come away thinking the opposite. He's definitely not mad. You know, like my mother for like 35 years worked in a mental hospital. She was a mental health nurse until she retired. And I've seen what mad people look like. Well, to use the word mad people, but I've seen what mental health looks like. Yeah. The patients in there. And I didn't see any of the patients in there producing music or running a business or doing anything like that. They were doing other things, right? Mm-hmm. They weren't doing those things. So I think when people say that he's mad or he's crazy or anything like that, it's
I don't think it's that. I think he might be bipolar.
Yeah,
things like that. I don't. But I know that the way he speaks. You know, one of my business partners was bipolar, the drop squad, and rest in peace. He's not with us anymore. And I used to, freshman year of college, I first dealt with someone who had depression with a girlfriend that I had. Not to say that gives me any great insight other than my own personal experience, but I do know that, you know, if people are going certainly through the challenge of being bipolar, that there's certain things that certainly with my ex-business partner, you know, when they're on upswings, they're really up, and sometimes they're really down, and they disappear, whatever. And I don't know all the other symptoms, but I do know that there's something not quite right with Kanye. And maybe it's something that's happened over the years. I know that he's not the same as he was before his mother passed. And
right.
I think he was his anchor and his rock and his North Star.
That's going to affect on everybody, but
yeah.
Yeah,
well,
but look, I'm gonna say watching him on Drink Champs, he said a lot of things which I've heard people who we all respect and rate have been saying for many, many years, and he reiterated some of those points. I don't know if it mentioned those points on the highlights, because they might have just played the bits that sounded bad.
I don't disagree with a lot of his observations. I was looking for.
There you go. Good. I like the way you said the observations. Yeah, there's certain observations that he pointed out and made, which other people who are far smarter than Kanye have been saying for a very, very long time, and things which if you've got eyes in your head, you've also noticed too.
I can't give what Kanye is saying credence, though. I think it's like what Eric is saying is very irresponsible for you to attack an entire group of people based on.
I wasn't just talking about that. I was talking about all the things he said in its entirety. I'm not just talking about
right. Well, I'm saying, but I can't give him a pass on the Drink Champs thing. I am a fan of Kanye's in a sense, so I watched the Piers Morgan where he seemed a little more together, but I feel like he's bipolar. He's admitted that. He's a narcissist. That's crystal clear. He strives for attention, and it seems to me he's a contrarian, you know. So I like, in a sense, when he says that he's not interested in being labeled a certain person because of the color of his skin, and that he has the right to think freely and vote the way he wants to vote and support Trump. And I respect his right to do all of that, you know, but I also see the strings being pulled. You know, a lot of what he says is right. Freudian slip.
Mm-hmm.
It's think tank talking points that the religious right put out there for people like Candace Owens and Kanye West to spout out there to justify their racist actions and behavior. And I hate every time I get into a conversation with somebody like a Trump supporter or a white person, and they always we can agree on 5 things, but then they'll bring up this, they'll always come to these 1 or 2 people, and I'm not trying to divide the audience here, but there are people like Thomas Sowell who makes good points about certain things, Candace Owens, and now Kanye. They use these people to justify their inherent racism, and that's the part that bothers me. Now, his right to free speech, I think.
So Mike, I was going to say it's a bit difficult to do that now after his recent interviews, though, to use Kanye as the poster boy.
Yeah.
He still is the poster boy. I mean, if I'm listening to, his intention, his belief is that he's going to be president of the United States one day. It's not like, in his belief system is that somehow he's anointed to be running the world and making the world a better place. But you don't do that by dividing people with rhetoric. And you certainly don't do that by wearing White Lives Matter t-shirts. I mean, to me, that's just spitting on your Black audience completely. It's like, we don't care. I don't care about you. I care about me. And I think that's where I have to draw the line with Kanye. But he's always an interesting interview, and I think he does make some good points, but I can't get behind the anti-Semitism.
Can I see this question though, Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah, just this last question. And by the way, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I'm not,
of course,
I'm on anyone's side.
And we're going to see stats too.
Just give you this question, Mike. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you could clone 1,000 of these people, who would you clone? Would you make 1,000 more Lil Waynes or 1,000 more Kanye Wests?
Lil Wayne minds his own business.
I'm saying, who's better for us?
What are we gonna use him to do?
What year, Kanye West? On what medication?
We're putting them in test tubes. We're growing them, and they're going to just grow up to be, however, like boys from Brazil. It's going to be like that.
Are we going to just have them be farmers when they grow up, or be truck drivers and don't have? I mean, it depends on. You know what I'm saying?
They just got the same mindset.
I have no problem with either of them. Honestly, I just think he's tone deaf. Kanye, when it comes to communicating his perspective, and I feel at best he's a free thinker who is defiant against cancel culture, and I respect him for putting his whole career on the line to speak out against something that he apparently hates. Like, at best, at worst, he's in need of medication, and people are taking advantage of him, and both of them are problematic. But I wouldn't even want to put Lil Wayne in the crosshairs. I mean, I think let's look at some of these chats. I'm running out of things to say. I made my point.
Tupac, 1,000 Tupacs or 1,000 Kanyes.
That's a better one. I'll take Tupac all day.
Easy choice. But
thank you.
Let me just say briefly, it's okay to have conservative opinions, and the Republicans or the right or somebody supremacist, they latch on to, they cover themselves by saying, we love Kanye, we have Candace, we have all that. But here's the thing. If you're only looking for or cherry picking people who agree with you, and the majority of people in that ethnic group think one way, and you only siding up with the 2% that thinks your way, that doesn't make you not what everybody's saying you are. You're just cherry picking the individuals that agree with you. That's the same thing that the Blacks for Trump individuals that show up for Trump at the back was right. You can say, yeah, I got Black support. How much Black support do you have, though? 0.5%. Well, then you're not really concerned about what the majority of Black people feel if we're living in a democracy. So that's what I'll say. You get kind of off in the
and ultimately, that's the problem I have with Kanye and his typical behavior is that he can speak out and say George Floyd was poisoned, slipped fentanyl by the cop, and say that he saw it in a documentary by Candace Owens, without any scrutiny on that. But he's made to pay when he speaks out against, the DEFCON 3 statement is where he's got a light in his pockets, But
Yeah,
hey, more power to him. He's on the apology tour. He's doing it his way.
I want him to be.
I wouldn't step into those crosshairs. But
he is a brother that could be very helpful to his community, and he's a leader, and we see that he's very perceptive. And listen, when he said George Bush doesn't care about black people, we were all loving him, right? Because he said what appeared to be true. So, I want him to be well, and that's the thing to me. I know, Jay, what you're saying about your experiences, but I see like a couple of the images and pictures when I would see him with Kim Kardashian, they would just catch them, and he's got that kind of dead look in his eyes. There's no life there.
Can I just build on that, Eric?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think if any of us were put in that environment,
yes,
yeah, with that family, right, we are not going to make it out the other end, right, with our faculties intact. Yeah, you got to look at the history. Look what happened to the men who go into that environment.
Yeah, I mean, we all know about. Listen, I in particular, never mind. But I used to work on the same show with Ray J. I met Kim back in the day when they were going together. Very nice person. So, how things evolve with their lives or whatever. But yeah, we do see a pattern. We do see stuff that's going down. And I think that with his mother passing, being in that position that he's in, and then like you're saying, going through that relationship, and also, with his mental issues or if he's bipolar or whatever, I question.
It's the whole package, isn't it? I think the whole family, I think, is can be a little bit stressful on your mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Okay. Well, let's move on. Folks we got the room full now.
And I'd say Diva, I think she agrees with me that I think she's saying she'd not agreeing with me. I think she's saying that she'd clone Kanye and she would leave Lil Wayne where he is, she said.
Okay, so we have a vote. Okay. So without further ado, well, I would urge people to, listen if you want to. I mean, I think the sound bites are dismissing his point. I think
they have to watch the whole thing. We've got 3 hours 25 minutes to spare. Then watch it.
Yeah.
I think the Drink Champs one, he was off his meds, but now the Piers Morgan one I thought was good. I disagree with him because he claims his claim to fame is he's a billionaire. The way he talks, the way he continues to talk, he's not going to have that money for long. They've already cut him off out of a few endorsements and partnerships. The bank gave him back his money, so and there are definitely forces out there that will destroy his career if he continues to talk the way he's talking, and it's not black people that are going to be doing that. So,
and we certainly noticed the difference in the response to the various statements. So that's not lost on me, what he said about.
In comparison to what he said before, that there was no backlash like this,
right?
But there's backlash now.
I mean,
it's the power. It's the nature of power.
Right.
There's certain. He was when he said the George Bush thing, he had underdog status. It took a lot of bravery for him to get on national television during the telethon and say something like that. So people championed that. People were feeling that, and he brought voice to that populace. I mean, remember what happened after that hurricane was it took 5 or 6 days for Bush to even show up, and when he did, he just flew over the hurricane wreckage, so for him to say that was what a lot of people were feeling at the time. I don't necessarily know if the same people that endeared themselves to Kanye because of that statement are in line with the White Lives Matter T-shirts or the DEFCON 3.
Oh no, I was talking about the there wasn't any the same kind of backlash when he said slavery was a choice.
Oh, there definitely was, but it was still like
the videos weren't taken down.
Vashon's on the chat. I mean, just to paraphrase the conversation we were having, you know, that's punching down on Black people when he says something like that. But again, he's off his meds, you know.
But those videos weren't taken. Those videos weren't taken down, though. You can still see that video now.
Also,
absolutely. We have Black people. We don't have the economic power to shut that down.
Well, it wasn't a comment on anybody's. It wasn't. You know, I mean, nobody was dead. I mean, you know, he was commenting really the comment about George Floyd when we all saw what happened. You know, I mean, slavery was a choice. Yeah, it was messed up, but also that combined with Mike said the power of it and how people. I think also the timing of him saying that too, you know, because the whole country, you know, not just Black people, you know, you looked at a lot of Black Lives Matter protests. There's a lot of white people out there too, you know, protesting and standing in alignment. So I think it was the convergence of the moment as well when he said that. So.
But yeah, Kanye's an enigma though. He's very Trump-like. All he needs to do is put an album out of old records from 2004 and call it Back to School, and people will start falling in love with him again.
Would it be good again? Like if R. Kelly puts out an album from prison, everybody gonna be good with him again?
I you know, certain people have Teflon status, you know, so
yeah.
You know,
Kanye's like you know, that ex-girlfriend who can always you know.
But we'll see what happens. I mean, he's really stuck his career out there, and I think that the forces that are at work are gonna make sure that he dies broke, like most Black celebrities. So
hopefully not. Hopefully he's a success story. Let's wish him the best.
Certain fires you don't put your hands in, and Kanye knows this, and he's still doing it. So, all right. Anyway, thanks for chiming in on that. Let's get into our main topic.
I come in peace.
You've said disrespectful things in the past, Minister. So you'll understand why there is some alarm here tonight.
I do. I've been in a prison correctional system for 5 years now, and that is exactly what I am. Corrected.
Mitzi!
Name's Harriet.
This one was a brother, and well, this meeting was important. I figure I better start getting my life story documented in my own words while I can.
Who's in charge here?
Well, she is, but we're both.
I'm the manager. Estelle Valerie.
Still, once they leave, you lock the front and back doors, you understand me?
You can murder a liberator, but you can't murder liberation. You can murder a revolutionary, but you can't murder revolution. And you can murder a freedom fighter, but you can't murder freedom. We will not wait any longer. Give us the vote. We're not asking, we're demanding. Give us the vote.
With your pretty brown skin.
Well done trailer, Jason. Jason edited that, by the way. So
nice.
Thank you for that.
Nice.
This feels like a debate. I don't, you know, like we had this conversation.
I just want to point out, although I am the British guy in the room, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I am not the I'm neutral.
I'll give you the floor.
Yeah,
Hang
on. I don't need the whole screen. I said, although I'm the British guy in the room, I'm neutral. I'm not. It's not going to be a battle between me and Eric. By the way, just so you know, viewers.
Huh? Well, you're trying to take my job this morning. What are you talking about?
It's a discussion. I don't. You know, it's a salacious title. You did that, and one of my buddies texted me said, "Yes, they are. Get your act together, Black actors, Black American actors." But I don't think. Here's what I've noticed as an actor in the business, right? not only with our brothers and sisters from across the pond there, but also brothers and sisters. There's a brother that was in acting class with me, African brother, and he had an accent and a dialect, obviously an accent. But I've noticed that it was easier. It seemed to be easier for brothers and sisters that came particularly from England with that type of accent that reminds people here in this country of Europe. And for me, it seemed like some of the, and not maybe not all, but it seemed like going in and getting an agent who might happen to be Caucasian, most of them, or casting director, something, they're not sounding like the typical African American. So there's something a little bit that it does to them. And I think something that they recognize with and equate with Europe. And so it seems to get them a little bit of traction. Now, that's not to say about the work, because the work that I've seen, and for me, I found like someone like John Boyega, I hope I'm not butchering his name, but I watched a movie on cable a long time ago, that little scary movie when they were the kids.
Oh, Attack the Block.
That was his breakout movie. That was his first
I'm into when I see movies from our people from across the world, England, Africa, wherever. I'm watching them, particularly movies from England. Because I want to know how we live in different countries. There's nuances and differences, but we're connected. So to me, it's always interesting to see how we live around the world. But that said, I know, and I've discussed this with other actors, it seems that some of the powers that be equate that dialect, that accent, with something other than African American.
Right. Okay. I'm gonna answer that question actually, because I've got an interesting theory on that. Right, and you can let me know if you think there's any truth in that. But before I do that, we'll just if I just bring up the slides and just get up the talking points, so everyone knows what we're gonna be discussing. So these are the things that we're gonna talk about, and then we'll leave it to you guys, the viewers at home, to come up with the answer, right? Or what you think is the truth. Somewhere in between.
We got 3 people here. I think we can make a debate.
We can make a debate, right? So we'll see if we can decide. Right? So number one,
I'm
are they
incensed.
taking our jobs?
You British people are taking all the jobs.
So why are so many Brits?
Black actors, and Eric can attest, before it was rappers taking all the jobs from qualified Black actors and Black American actors.
That's a different.
Now you Brits have come in and you've just taken over every historical figure.
I think you know what I think. I didn't plan to be the ambassador for the Brits, right? But I think you're putting me in a corner here, Mike.
Yeah, he's putting you in a corner, Jason. Everybody.
I have to rep.
You got to answer for the whole race.
You and that Royal Shakespeare Company of yours over there.
Right, so.
Yeah, but that's part of it too. Because part of our studying and training as actors in the United States, if you can go and be a part of Lambda, I forget what that means, but if any of my acting friends that are listening or whatever, there's an organization called Lambda where you can study in England. And, it's a course. You can go over there and take an intensive for whatever you come back. You've got that on your resume. And people are like, oh, you studied over in England at this, Mm-hmm. So there's that is combined in that,
Mm-hmm.
And certainly with the history of theater and movies coming from, William Shakespeare and all that, I think that brings that cachet, I believe. So
right.
I don't think there's a battle. I just think the opportunities are there. And, I think sometimes, like with David Oyelowo playing Martin Luther King, I think that the historical context of someone like me or my age playing Martin Luther King, I'm wondering if we would be so in awe, have so much reverence, that we might shy away from playing the man fully. And I know with some of I'm just going out and saying it because I know my boy Jeffrey Wright did an excellent job when he did Ride for HBO. But I sometimes I think some of us might have so much reverence that it might affect how we approach the role. And I thought, I still haven't seen Selma because I get heated seeing historical movies about that. It took me a long time to see 12 Years a Slave and all that. It just really, gets to me. But what I've seen of this brother doing the work in this role, he really did his thing. And all the people that we showed are great actors. It's just the opportunities. And I want to see more I want to see movies in England where some American actors are there, where we're hooking up, where we are united in certain storylines and plots. So I'm sorry,
Well, it's just a strong pattern. I mean, we've had this discussion many times. From when I was on the radio, and I guess Harry Tubman was being cast. So one of the factors is that a lot of these movies are not financed by American studios. They're done by European studios. So Selma was a Studio Canal Plus production. Harry Tubman was financed by Focus Features, which is Seagram's, which is not an American company. So they have a more global view. Not to give excuses to anybody, but it's possible that they have a more global view of the marketplace.
Yeah.
And then also another factor is a lot of American actors have been seen a lot in other roles before they get cast in these iconic things. So unless you have like it's Denzel is going to be playing this part, and it's hard to get past the fact that it's Denzel, maybe the directors of the film or the producers of the film want a fresh face, and somebody like a David Oyelowo is relatively new to American audiences, and he doesn't have a strong mental imprint or emotional imprint for the audience. So those are factors of why it could be happening, but it is a huge pattern, and it's kind of interesting.
So you going with fact then? So you'd say fact or fiction? They are taking more roles.
Well, I mean, if you narrow it specifically to, and it happens a lot, yeah, I would say yes, because it's still we're still at a point now where Black actors don't get cast unless the role is written as a Black actor. Very few actors have the power. Maybe a Michael B. Jordan, when he did that movie for Amazon Prime, can distinctly go into a room and say, "Look, I want to be cast in roles that were not written for Black actors."
Oh yeah, there's Black actors that are at that star level where they're getting
that
were written
right. So, but when you're talking about historical figures, they have to be cast by Black actors, and a lot of these historical figures, these roles are being
this
filled by
movie here,
British
Selma,
actors.
you had Dr. King and his wife.
Yeah.
They're both played by British actors.
Yeah.
And this is my personal opinion on this particular thing, right? So I think even as all right, so I know there's the argument that it's acting. So it's so the idea is you're supposed to be acting. So you're not
I'm sorry to cover your face.
It's the fact it's acting. So people would argue and say, well, the fact that they're able to play someone so far out of their actual range shows what a good actor they are. Yeah, it's a bit like someone playing a disabled person, they're able-bodied. Yeah, it's showing how good they are as an actor, isn't it? Right. So there's that argument. But then the other argument is, if it's a historical figure, like in this country, we know Martin Luther King, of course, right? But we don't have the same, like my missus. Well, Mike knows, but you might not know it. But my missus is American, and she'll explain how in America there's like every other street corner is Dr. King Street and so on, and you learn about him throughout school and everything else, right?
Right.
So growing up, you got a stronger connection to Martin Luther King than we would have here, right? So it just seems a bit bizarre to me when you're casting a British guy and the British woman to play those parts. That's just that's my opinion, right? No different if he was going to cast an American to play a famous Black British historical figure. Yeah, be thinking, right, because they don't have that same historical connection. So I do think when you are casting a historical figure, I believe that it should be an American person. Like for example, Malcolm X in One Night in Miami.
Mhm.
Was a British guy who played him. I only found out afterwards because I had to look up on him. So I was like,
yeah,
I thought he was terrible. To me, it was like they could have cast, what's the guy from Sesame Street? Telly. Is it Telly from Sesame Street? You know, the red monk. You know, remember the one who's always worried all the time? Telly, isn't it? Yeah. They should have just cast him to play the role because he was like a nervous wreck in the movie. It was awful depiction of Malcolm X, right? But they cast that British guy as Malcolm X, and then when I read his his wiki and other bits and pieces on him, it looks to me that probably the first time he found out about Malcolm X, I'm obviously being assumptuous here, or making assumptions. It looked like to me the first time he learned about Malcolm X is when he got the script. That's how it looked to me. Yeah, based on how he lives his life. Yeah, if read between the lines, is what I'm saying, Eric. If you know what I mean. Yeah,
Gotcha.
right. In terms of his choice, the choices he's made.
yeah.
Right? It looks to me that the first time he learned about Malcolm X is when he got the script. So, and that's what I mean. It seems that an American person, obviously some British people could as well, but an American,
Right.
I think it'd come a lot easier for an American person to embody the spirit of Malcolm.
Right. I think what happens with actors, you're working, and you're starting to be a recognizable face, and you get that opportunity in a film to shine where the spotlight is on you. So that's when you hope that an American actor gets that opportunity, and that's where I'm talking about it. When you have an agent or a casting director that's behind you, that has been enthralled with, I've got this British black actor and they're great and they can play this role, because you've got this whole, and I'm not saying because they're British, but I'm telling you, I think it's because they equate that with Europe and they're more comfortable being working with people. Now, the work, like for Idris, right, playing Stringer Bell, I remember going to the LA premiere of the Lackawanna Blues for Reuben. And Kenneth Michael Williams was there, and Idris, and hearing that brother talk, a lot of us found it's like, yo, you're British? Damn, yo, and everybody's giving him pounds, just like everybody. That's why everybody loves him, because he played that brother from Harlem or Baltimore so convincingly. He had it down. So when you found, so it was in his work as an actor, how good he was. But then after that, when you realize, I do know some black actors from New York City that can do that same type of stuff. But do they get the opportunity, and who knows where they were in their career to even get that opportunity to audition and be taken seriously? But that doesn't take away the work that Idris did, and that was a star-making turn, gave him other opportunities, like Winston Duke in Black Panther, right? Yeah, that's a turn. When you come in and you slam a role, you get that opportunity, you hit that home run, yeah, you're going to get noticed. But that's what I'm talking about, the opportunities. And it's not really versus this versus that. Mike, you talked about rappers back in the day. And I equate rappers with what they used to do with singers. And when they put Elvis in movies back in the day, I wasn't really mad, because when they got a hit song out, you produced a movie, you want to guarantee a certain return on your money. So if I put, so they've been doing that stuff since Al Jolson days, right? So I wasn't really mad. I wasn't really mad with at that, the notion. It was a little frustrating, and Sam Jackson spoke about it a little bit, I think, at one time. And there's a story about him and LL having a discussion when they worked on that Shark movie that they did. But the work is there. It's just about having the opportunities, and I want to get to the point where we're all working together, where we're showing the global connection of our people.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We're going to touch on that a bit later in terms of whether it's creating a divide or not. But I'll answer your question, Mike, sorry, Mike, Eric, because the next point we was going to look at was like why are so many roles going to Brits? And you mentioned about that the producers or the decision makers, when they hear the British accent and everything else, they think that it reminds them of the old country and everything else.
It opens the door. I think it opens when you go on the road. You're trying to find any little thing to connect with the people, and I think that opens the door a little bit.
Well, yeah. Let me me tell you my experience as a British black person when I've met white Americans, and this might I don't know, you might have a light bulb moment, Eric, when I explain. But like, I remember being in Germany once, right, on a holiday, vacation as you call it, right, and I was in eating place, I don't know, some diner or restaurant or something, and there was I was with my ex-wife, right, at the time, and an American guy heard us talking, white American. So because we're in Germany, he hears us speaking English. He wants to come over and sit with us, right? Because it's like, oh, you know, it's the same common language. So he's like, oh, what are you doing in Germany? And we start talking, and I'm talking to him, and he's a retired like a principal or something like that, right? And we're talking, and cut a long story short, he kind of alludes to me and starts talking to me how the black people in England seem better educated than the ones in America, right? And he's almost implying, this is what he's almost saying. He's almost implying, you know what, your blacks are so much nicer than our blacks, all right? And that's a common theme that I've had. I remember I went to Boston in America, and someone was saying almost the same type of thing to me. Yeah. Oh, why can't they didn't say these words, but they may as well have said this. Mm-hmm. Oh, why can't our blacks be more like you or the blacks you have over there? So there's that kind of thing, right? Now,
I would submit to you that's because they equate it. I'm telling you, they equate it with whiteness. I mean, no disrespect, but I'm pretty that.
Yeah, look, I'm not taking that as an insult. I know what you mean. Yeah, because they're hearing us, because when they hear a British accent, they associate that as because when they see British things, they tea drinking and
sure.
Hello and all this type of thing. So in their mind, it is some kind of like some poshness, some kind of old country, old world, yeah. All traditional, yeah. All these things go through their mind. I think, and it's a bit more sophisticated, a bit more civilized. Right. It's almost that's what I have in their head. Yeah. More manageable. It's like I could manage this guy or work with this guy easier than I could with our one. Right. So I do agree with that, because the like I say, the response I get from white Americans is very different to the response that once I'm talking, not just seeing me, because if they just see me, they're going to do me the same. When I start talking, the response I get, I see them change. Yeah, I'll see, like, if I was to ask them where, like a direction, yeah, all of a sudden, oh, and they're really nice, really friendly, and I'm thinking, I saw the switch, yeah. He was going to give me a response, and then when you heard my voice, you then decide to give me another response, and you're like super helpful. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, where are you from? Oh, blah blah blah, and it's totally different. So I think there is some truth in it. I think it comes down to we prefer you to our ones, yeah. And but the same way, the flip side's here. With black Americans in the UK, yeah, they'll get more love than the black British person.
It's the new and the different thing. Listen,
because they see you as exotic. They see you as wow, ooh. Yeah. So it's going to be the same. It's going to be the same thing here. But over there, like I say, it's
I'm rolling with brothers from England or whatever, from a different country, and they got that accent. I'm like, yeah, I got some international brothers I'm rolling with. So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's the feeling of connection with us,
Yeah, but like I say, I think the white folks do think that we're a little bit more I don't know, a bit more softer. Easy to manage, yeah, but let me tell you now, right? Let me tell you now. I'll put me on full screen. Let me tell you now.
Oh, hang on. I got it.
Let me tell you now. We're not easy to manage. We're raw and rough and tough, right? And we don't take any shit, right? So don't let the accent fool you. Don't let the accent fool you.
We have Stringer Bell to attest, and the guy from Snowfall to attest.
And that brother's doing, I mean, just by looking at him, I was like, he's got that. Whoever this kid is, he's playing that drug dealer down. I mean, just the whole vibe and his presence that you look. You know, sometimes you can look with the, you know how it is, Mike. You can look with the sound turned off, and you can tell somebody's doing a hell of a job acting. You know, acting is more than just saying the lines. But so some people just look like they're in character, like they're there, you know, and you can just see it from the picture and without the sound. So, so yeah, that was really.
I'd also say this as well, Eric, is that an advantage we have over you guys. All right. So in terms of like you guys coming over here and getting the work, as opposed to us getting work over there, is that we can all, even people who aren't actors, can do American accents. Yeah. Right. Because we've grown up watching so much American TV. Right. Yeah? Like my daughter, when she was like 6 years old, she could like put on an American accent when she was playing. Yeah, as standard. Right. And you really listen to this, you know, listening to songs and things like that, you can put them on. Yeah. Because we're exposed to more American stuff than you are British stuff. Right. Right. So that's an advantage. So like you know, the British person can do a Southern American accent, they can do a LA accent, they can do a New York accent, all right, relatively easy, right, from just listening to the songs, because they think, oh right, LA accent, all right, so that's like Ice Cube, that's how Ice Cube sounds. Oh, New York, oh, that's how Tim Dog sounds. Oh, South, oh, Master P, that's how he sounds, right?
Tim Dog, yeah, I'm like, how'd that come out?
I just had to think of a New York rapper.
Penicillin on wax. You know what? If this was a game show, Jason, or like what is it, $20,000 pyramid?
You got some points for that, bro.
If Family Feud or something, and I was to name a New York rapper, no disrespect to Tim Dog, rest in peace if he's really dead, but I would not have come up with that. So more power to you. That's why British people are taking the jobs, because they know Tim Dog.
Oh yeah, and that's another thing as well, because we probably we know quite a lot about American Black American culture as well. You know.
I'm sorry,
so you got these things as advantages, because what I find is when I've seen American actors do the British accents, you know, sorry guys, a lot of the time it's really, really, really bad.
Tally ho now.
They sound like Dick Van Dyke.
Is that all?
You think I don't speak good British?
Or is that just is that all white and black, or is that just the Black American actors? Do we need to step our game?
No, both. Because the thing is, right, Eric, and I'll give you a tip here as an actor. So if you're going to get some work in England, right, and you're auditioning, right, you give you some. This will help you, right? Black people, right, sound different to white people in England. They don't have the same voice. And when Americans tend to do the British accent, they sound like white people, right? So then immediately it's off. Yeah, a bit like what's his name? What's the thing where they go to Vegas and rob Vegas? Ocean's 11.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, remember John Cheadle when he's playing Englishman?
He sounds like
a white Brit.
You sound like a white British guy from East London. Yeah. He's like, all right, mate, you're thinking the only kind of black guy who speaks like that is the kind of white black guy who's adopted by white people. Yeah. And grew up in a white area. Yeah. No.
That's because we don't have as much, like you're saying, we're not seeing TV shows with black Brits on where we could, you know, even, you know, like you said, you guys grew up watching a lot more of and being exposed to more of our culture. So you could do us in a minute. We can't do that, you know, and that's what I'm talking about. So when I see those projects with black people from all over the world doing work, I'm watching, man. You know, I mean, I watched this thing the other night on Amazon Jungle, that a series of short vignettes, obviously wrapped out, and also the Porter. I don't know if you're hip to that, Mike, about Puma and Porter, which is on Amazon. I think it was Canada. But,
check it out.
You know, I'm down to check out all of it. You know, and like I said,
check it out. And somebody asked, of course, my phone's dying. Thanks to everybody who's donating. I'm not catching everything, but somebody said, "Why are we having this conversation?" It's because the trailer got 92 comments.
And why
You
not?
know, this is obviously a topic worth discussing, worth
And
debating.
it's a look, it's a real thing. It's a real thing. You know, people like it's a bone of contention for some a lot of Americans. And look, I say, if I'm not even American, and like I said, with the historical figures, it bothers me. It's almost like there's a conspiracy. It's almost like it's designed to wind us up, or to wind you guys up. You know, I'm thinking, are they doing this? Are they trolling? Are they trolling you guys or something?
Well,
You know,
Well, you know, I think the reasons. I think we cover the reasons why. It's casting agents seeing the exoticism of casting a Brit, or perhaps they have not, well, quote unquote, better training. You know, it could be that these films are not being financed by American studios, and that they're looking for a more global impact in terms of how.
But then Harriet, the movie Harriet, that lady wasn't known in England. She wasn't known. She was like a.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah,
So
Cynthia Erivo. She also played Aretha Franklin, right?
Yeah. So she wasn't known in England. She blew up over here.
I didn't know. I'd never seen her before.
Yeah, she blew up over here on Broadway initially.
Yeah.
Ironically cast. I think she was cast in The Color Purple on the musical.
Right.
So, which is because she's got such a great voice. But yeah, that was interesting to me that you know, she's on a hot roll. She's on a roll, so she got. I think that's the only reason why. But that was really interesting to me. I know a lot.
What I would say as well, Eric, is over here. So, you know, television over here, and you know, they've got a lot to answer for, because the actors aren't getting the work. That's why they're going to the US, because it's like you know, they don't. I know America's like bad as it is, I guess, in terms of like just casting. You know, if they write a script for a white guy, or write a script with a colorless man in mind, they still probably won't cast a black guy. They're thinking, oh, well, they want a white guy.
Right.
Yeah. Whereas in America, in the UK, you know, they're only casting the black guy for a black specific role. You know, if he's the guy's, you know, the drug dealer, or the same kind of stuff that you get, you know, I don't know, the pimp, or these kind of roles. Yeah.
There's a famous speech that David Oyelowo made about that, having to leave the UK in order to get any opportunities to work at all.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've heard that by other black British actors. So and it was obvious to me, because clearly, you know, the work is here. I mean, I just the fact that I haven't seen enough, and I'm thirsting for more black British content and more stories about black British people, and learn about my people over there. Tell me that there's not enough. They're not, you know.
There isn't enough. I think there's a bit more now, because they like, for example, there's a show called Top Boy. You ever seen that? I haven't. Yeah, I haven't watched it myself, because I don't really like to watch black criminals shows. Yeah, I just think I can look out my window and see that if I want to see that. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want it glorified, but like that was very successful. Yeah. It was on a channel called Channel 4. They ran it, and they didn't run it again, but then Netflix picked it up. I think Drake or something had something to do with funding it or something like that. Then it put it on Netflix, and it was the #1 show on Netflix for that season or whatever it was. And I think they realized, oh wow, there's actually like a market for this, because you know, like urban culture in Britain is very, very popular, just like it is in the US. And that's that kind of thing that the young urban generation, and you know, white and black, eat up. They love watching that kind of stuff.
Right.
So I think they've realized now, oh, there's a market for that. So they're probably going to make more of that type of content. But prior to that, they were, like I say, they weren't really doing anything like that. So
Chewing Gum, was that a big show for you guys?
Chewing Gum, I'm not familiar with Chewing Gum.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't remember the actress's name, but it was a kind of a hit. Maybe somebody in the chat can
Okay.
Deal with that. Yeah. And shout out to the mods. You know, we're keeping folks at bay, but we're gonna entertain the chat in a minute. Let's finish up the slides, and then
Yeah.
I
So
can go
let's just
through.
get this slide up. So this
I
was
can go
his.
through.
So
Just to reset the room. So we're gonna finish up with the slides. We're talking about black British actors taking American character portrayals, and then I also would like to spend some time going through some of the comments that were left on the trailer. So
yeah. So again, this is what we've just been covering. We've been talking about this particular topic here, but in this movie here, good movie by the way. I like that film. Although there was some criminology in at the end, wasn't there?
Yeah,
on that one.
you must be from the UK if you like that movie.
Yeah,
Oh really? You didn't like it?
No, it was oh god, don't get me started on Queen and Slim. It just needed another rewrite or another draft. It could have been a classic, but I think
yeah, they should.
You know, I could have a whole treatise about it.
The end. I didn't like the ending. I thought the ending really annoyed me.
Well, the ending is what it had to be for it to be an American film.
Oh yeah,
but I mean that's part of the technology of it. But
yeah.
But it was advertised as sort of like a Black Bonnie and Clyde. So I'm going in thinking it's going to be Jay-Z and Beyonce. And then there's some questionable things that were done in the film, like intercutting this love scene with the killing and different things that just made me feel like they weren't on top of their game, and you know, different things with the sexuality, you know, the Bokeem Woodbine character and all that kind of stuff unnecessary to the story. Yeah, no, one of the biggest disappointments in the history of black cinema was Queen and Slim. It should have been. No, you got me on fire. This is our last show for 2 weeks, so I'll let it all out. I feel empowered by Kanye speaking his truth. Queen and Slim. I mean, I love what Lena Waithe is doing. I just feel like they rushed this one into production to take advantage of Black Lives Matter, and all it did was regurgitate what we already knew from social media instead of giving us a fantasy that would allow us catharsis. So thumbs down to Queen and Slim.
Did you feel the same way, Eric?
Oh wait, hang on. Let me do my lean back. Anyway,
I don't. I have different problems with it. Like just how they got to the whole scenario from Jump Street. To me, it was like contrived. You know,
yeah. Don't even start. She's a lawyer.
Yeah,
and they go on the run.
Crazy, and she's giving him, you know, character-wise, you know, blind date. She's giving him all this stuff, and you know, some cat. I know a lot of people would just walked out, but hey, would have left it. But then when the cop comes in, like you said, Mike, she's a lawyer, and she's going through all these changes. Like, I guess she was at the end of it, or she had a bad day or whatever, so she's had enough of it. But that was unbelievable.
Yeah, this is when you go to the press. You say, how can we get to the media to get us out of this jam? Or how can we, she's so smart. She's a lawyer. You know, why are they on the run? And then when they're on the run, it's the most lackadaisical freaking on the lam movie I've ever seen. You know, the nadir of that was when, and spoiler alert for anybody who's seen Queen and Slim, you had 5 years to see it, or 3 years at least. You know, have discussions. Road movies always have these interesting discussions, but who do you like better, Fat Luther or Skinny Luther, is not the kind of thing that you should be talking about when the police are trying to kill you.
Maybe I need to watch it again.
That movie incensed me. No, I paid money to see the movie. That's why
I watched. In fact, I watched that in the US. Actually, I watched that when I was there visiting.
But you know, again, you know, it was their first movie, and they should be allowed to make more. You know, Lena Waithe and the director. The director's a very good director. You know, Atlanta's a great show. All that other stuff.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. In fact, I watched that with my father-in-law actually. So it was a bit awkward when the love scene came on. To be fair, that was a bit awkward.
Oh,
yeah, because I wanted to enjoy it, but I thought I can't show too much enjoyment. He's going to look at me sideways. You know, can't believe I just said that online, but never mind.
But yeah, so
now, bro.
Where was it going? Oh, so the inverse of this, roles going to Brits. I mean, if Charles Woods was here, he would bring up the fact that a lot of African characters like Idi Amin are portrayed by American actors, and nobody says a word about it. You know,
Yes, that's
again,
true.
I think it leans into what the power structure is, who's financing the films,
Right.
and what they see is acceptable. You know, if Forrest Whitaker is a name, they're going to cast him over an unknown African actor. But or people brought up Denzel Washington playing a Brit in For Queen and Country years ago, and nobody really made any complaints.
I actually thought he did it. His accent wasn't that bad. Actually, he did still sound like a white guy, but his accent wasn't that bad. And I thought for years, because I was like very, you know, I was a young when I watched that. I thought Denzel was British for years.
Wow.
Yeah, because I thought, because I watched, that was the first film I seen him in. So we didn't get. I think I don't know. Maybe we did get it, but I never saw it. What's the Sin Elsewhere? Was that what he was famous for?
St. Elsewhere,
yeah. So I never saw that. So the first thing I saw him in was Queen and Country. Then the second thing I saw him in was Mighty Quinn. And he was Jamaican in that.
Were
so
you?
Like,
did you mistake him? Did you mistake him for Jamaican? I hope not.
No, I still thought he was. No, Jamaican accent was terrible. But I still thought he was British, just doing a very poor Jamaican accent. And then it weren't until like I don't know, maybe a few films in, and I was like, wait a minute, this guy's not even British. Yeah.
I think that the Mighty Quinn was kind of like Payday plus Vacation for those guys. I know that Queen and Country, at least from my perspective, you know, that's when Denzel was just starting to blow up. Queen and Country, doing that role filled his repertoire, you know, Mike and Jason Portfolio, to show that he can do that type of work. So you know, that's why I did. I mean, even though the accent, you know, like you said, it wasn't as believable, but if it's playing over here to us Americans that don't know the difference.
He sounded what's he called? He sounded like, it was a good accent, but he sounded like I say, that kind of there are black guys who talk like that, but that kind of black guy. But then again, it's believable because the black guy who was a military man probably would talk like that.
And a lot of black people in the U.S. didn't see that movie anyway, so I think it's more white.
Yeah, but it was. I enjoyed it. I liked the film. I thought it was good.
I still have to see it.
So, Eric, I don't know if you have an answer to this question that Aisha posed. Do black British actors join unions?
They have unions. I think they have a union over there, but yeah, they join unions in the U.S. You got to join SAG if you're going to be working in SAG's jurisdiction. I know that they have an organization, the BAFTA Awards, are the British equivalent to the Oscars, and so I'm assuming that they have a union in Britain as well. So, but yeah, definitely those guys.
Asking about Till. Danielle Deadwire is American, so it's not the case until, but it's another historical drama.
I've got a question for you, Eric. Actually, yeah, because this is something that always bothered me. All right, and I'm not even American. And I watch films, and I'd notice, that they'd cast people from different cities, right? And the accent would be, you know, like, so the film's set in New York. The guy's supposed to be from New York, and he's got a distinct Southern accent, or vice versa. Yeah, and that's something that I'd always see. Like you'd see, like I don't know, can't think of one off the top of my head, but you know what I mean, don't you? And you're thinking, why does the guy sound like he's from Dallas, and he's supposed to be like a New York guy?
So you're obviously really in tune to the different dialects that black people have across the country, right? So you know, sometimes that's just the actor that's cast and the production. That's a question for them.
But they never explain it. No. It's like, you know,
and I think it also depends on what level of the film, you know, when we're talking BCD, you know, and the resources that the individuals have at the time. Maybe they only could get the Uncle Charlie from down south for that day to shoot while he was up in Brooklyn because they needed an old man.
Like, I'm trying to think of this. Usually with rappers, when the rappers were the stars, that would happen. Like, trying to think. Like,
well, it's a commercial factor, and then also, as Eric says, a lot of the stuff is shot down south. So.
Well, like Barbershop. Ice Cube stars in Barbershop, and that's set in Chicago, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well,
And you got Cedric the Entertainer in there as well. And isn't Cedric the Entertainer got a Southern accent?
Well, he's from St. Louis, I believe. Missouri somewhere. So it's kind of, you do have some folks that live in certain areas and they're from a different, there's people that live up here where I'm on the East Coast that have Southern accents that, some black folks. So, I think it depends sometimes, but I do know exactly what you mean. I think that depends on the actor's work.
Yeah, I don't know if Ice Cube is stretching too much, like even when he played the James Bond role, he was still Ice Cube.
Oh, Triple X.
Yeah, Triple X. Yeah, he made no effort to be like no disrespect to Ice Cube, but
he really didn't have
he wasn't I don't think he went to the gym before they shot that movie. He just showed up on set.
Well, actually, he looked like he worked on his forearms.
What they do?
His forearms look good because he was wearing a t-shirt and it looked like his forearms were kind of big.
I don't know how that happened. I mean, I don't. Vashon is jumping in. Vashon, tell us how did Triple X happen with Ice Cube? I don't know.
That was Triple X 2 or something like that.
The second one, I think, it was.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Vin Diesel was the first guy.
I wasn't mad at Cube. I've never met a Cube. I like,
I actually I love how Ice Cube reinvented himself. Like my kids love Ice Cube movies.
Yeah.
Look, my guilty pleasure is Fist Fight. I think I'm the only person that like that.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, check your phones, guys.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
All right, that was him. All right.
Oh yeah, no, my phone doesn't make that sound. That's
okay.
I don't have a Nokia.
Anyway, blame Vin Diesel.
Right. So the last one
slides. Okay.
Yeah, is it creating a divide? Yeah.
Within some communities, it is. Yeah.
Is it creating a divide? Maybe Eric can answer this. Is it creating a divide, Eric? Do you have resentment? Yeah. Are you bitter?
Oh, he's muted.
No, I'm sorry. No, I'm not bitter. I was going to say I'm not, but put it in perspective. It is something that's frustrating, but a lot of American black actors are frustrated over it. But if you've been doing this for a while, if you've been working for a number of years and been in the industry, has been replacing black actors for years. Okay. If you've been in the industry for a number of years, you understand that's a part of it. That's what it is. It is what it is. And once we get to the point where we can change, it'll be good. But we can't be mad at the brothers and sisters coming to get to work. How you gonna be mad at somebody because they're gonna accept work that somebody offers them?
Right. Well, I mean, let's address Miss P's comment here. They should at least be from the same culture. As the historical background to play someone with a role that can actually relate and believe. And there is a strong belief that the trauma that Black Americans have suffered would inform the role more. Especially if you're playing like a Harriet Tubman or something like that, you might channel it differently. I don't know.
Well, actors, you have a direct connection, but I believe that someone who has been oppressed, as we all have all over the world to some degree, if we're black, we understand that. And the job of the actor is to find that place where they can relate to it, to bring their own experience to that, their own relationship to the role. Certainly, African-American descendants of slaves had the direct connection, but I don't discount the fact that some of our brothers and sisters from different parts of the world, as actors, I agree with that statement right there by Elizabeth Frank. But as actors, I don't think that they would, that it's impossible for them to get there to that emotional through line.
I think that's the thing. I think that's what divides. That's what unites black people. So if if we go to, well, not that I watch these things, slave films. I don't think Eric watches them either. I think you said that, didn't you? That you don't watch those things.
Yeah.
Once you've seen one, you've seen.
So what you're saying, Jason, is watching slavery movies is a choice?
But I watch
Bingo. No, what I was gonna say is that if, as a black person, if you're watching a slave film and you're seeing a guy getting whipped, you do not necessarily have to have been a descendant of a slave to still feel that the pain in every lash.
Right.
You know, and I think that's the thing, isn't it? You know, you're not going to have more of a connection because you're thinking I was a descendant of a slave than you would if you wasn't. You just see you're going to think that could if I was there in, I don't know, 1624, that could have been me. And
there is
whereas
that connection is that we're your people. I mean, we're on different continents, different countries, but we're still connected by the fact that we've been catching hell all over the world, and this has been, these people have been designed to try and keep us down, no matter where we are.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the slaves in the Caribbean were allowed to go swimming, Eric. It's a lot different.
Are you joking? Or are you allowed to go swimming?
That's definitely a joke, because from what I understand, the plantations in the Caribbean, especially Jamaica, were the harshest conditions. You had the shortest life expectancy.
Which is why
they said that's where they sent the most rebellious ones. That was more like like a death sentence getting sent there.
Well, the bunk breaking, that was the bunk breaking.
And say again.
That's the buck breaking,
Well, that's what I heard in what's the thing? Hidden Colors. But from speaking to Jamaicans, I'm not sure how accurate that is to that degree. Yeah.
No, I just wanted to trigger the chat. That's all.
Yeah, he's trying to see if anything was still.
That's why there's a certain perspective in Jamaica towards
I've heard that, but then I spoke to like some relatives and they said it's what they said, not me. Yeah, they said we wouldn't need to go through that to have that opinion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right? If that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have one of my best friends is Jamaican American, and he broke it down to me. He was like, "Yeah, stuff was illegal at one time. Talking about gay people and to be gay and things like that. Anybody wonders what we're talking about, or West Indian? Obviously, you have an idea. But and historically, Jamaica was, that's where they like you said, they took the brothers and sisters.
It's tough. Yeah, it's tough. And Brits, remember, like most Brits, we've come there via the Caribbean, the West Indies, because of the obviously the colonial history. So it's not like Black British people are just like, we've got no, we're still descendants from that same, from that same path. And I like to say descendants of slaves because that sometimes gives out the impression that we've just always been slaves. But descendants of people who went through slavery, as opposed to being slaves, if that makes sense.
Well, that brings up, this comment here, it brings up the idea, the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, the Foundation of Black Americans thing, where, the belief is that we and how do you feel about this, Jason? Foundational Black Americans, you've heard the rhetoric.
Yeah.
That
I never heard that.
Somehow it's Tariq Nasheed, who's a friend of the show, and striving for reparations. He's saying that the Black American experience is a lot different than the Black immigrant experience.
That's true, though.
Yeah, it is true.
I can say that. Just from me going there. Yeah. And the thing is, being from Britain, born and raised, many generations deep in Britain, it's the same thing here. We've got our own version of that. Because with people from continental Africa, when they come here, they've got a different perspective on Britain than we have. Yeah, so a lot of say for example, Britain, foundational Black British people would be of West Indian descent. if you can look at it that way. Yeah. So they're the ones who came over in the 20s, 30s, 40s. Yeah. You know, if you go further back, 1800s, right? But mostly during the war, Second World War, and then had families and generate, you know, like everything else, right? So they went through all the, you know, all the crap in the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, 70s, 80s, and so on, right? To get it to where we are today, which is post-racial. Yeah, right. So then people from the continent come over, you know, university visas and so on, and or just, you know, come to make a better life, and they reap the benefits of this post-racial society. Yeah, and then they may look at the Black British of West Indian descent, right, who's not doing anything, right, and they look at them and think, how come you've been here for 100 years, yeah, and you don't own anything, yeah? I've been here 5 minutes and I've got a business, yeah. My kids one's a doctor, one's a lawyer, the other's, you know, the other's an accountant, yeah, and then you've got, you know, you're I don't know, you're working in,
you're on the dole,
Walmart on the dole, yeah, or whatever, right? And then that creates that you know, divide between the two, because the other one's looking at how come everything's working out for you, because it's a different mindset, because and like I say, look, just want to put this out there. I don't think like that. I've got many close friends who are from the continent, and I'm about unity, not division. Yeah. But there is sometimes that that divide, the same divide that you see there. And the reason why is because the person who's born and raised has a different outlook, because their parents passed on all their issues and problems onto the children. Yeah, so their attitude, so they have a more cynical approach. So it's like the African American will have a far more cynical approach of America, or outlook on America, than the migrant will have. The migrants come in there with a fresh perspective. They're thinking, wow, there's so much opportunity here.
That's
right. And the African American who's been there 400 years is like, oh man, this is BS. This whole setup's a lie. Yeah, it's one big trick. Right. That's the attitude they have, which, again, there's truth to that. But the same way, if you have that attitude, it's going to prevent you from even trying to do certain things.
Exactly.
And the thing is, if you don't try, yeah, then you can't get it at all. It's like the lottery in England. It's like they say, not that I play it, but the slogan is, you have to be in it to win it.
Yeah, the same thing.
Right? Yeah, you have to be. Yeah, you go. You have to be in it to win it. Now, you could be as cynical as you want about the lottery. I never win it. But if you don't play it, then you won't. You don't even get the opportunity to lose.
Right.
Right. So it's the same. So it's the same thing. And obviously, we know the lottery. The chances of winning the lottery is like you're more likely to get struck by lightning.
Right. Well, also, you know, sociology minor here. There's also the thing in America, at least. It's known as the black underclass, which is a term used to discuss, you know, when opportunities did open up for black people in the United States during the civil rights movement. The people who were in the middle class and the upper classes were in a position where they were segregated and they were forced to live in certain areas. They could move into communities with white families and white people, but and they took advantage of the opportunities that were made available at that time for them and their families. But what it did, it also left behind a whole bunch of people that were not equipped to take advantage of those opportunities, and it just left a festering ghetto situation. And that, unfortunately, is what we get to see in media all the time, is that that section of the population which is not taking advantage, and so it becomes a never-ending cycle, you know. And unfortunately, the same way Africans didn't come back to rescue us after we were stolen, or given away, depending on your sense of history, or we're already here to begin with, depending on your sense of history. Nobody came to save us then. Nobody went back really to help those in that underclass situation outside of the government, which leads us to another conversation, which we could have another day. But
I just want to point out, I just want to address something as well, because a few
yeah,
people,
let's look at the chat. Let's finish up and then let's look at the chat. Is that okay?
I'll just say this, just quickly address this, because a few people said, Africans have been in England since the 50s and beyond.
Okay.
Yes, that is true. Yeah, so I don't want to just ignore that part. They were there, but I'm talking about large communities. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, like large communities. So the large black communities in Britain from the turn of the century was West Indian, and there's always been Africans coming back and forward to Britain from, well, you can go back 1,000 years if you're going to be precise. There's been African people going there, but in terms of large communities, that didn't start until like the 50s, 60s. Well, even what do you say, the 80s, to be fair, because any Africans that were there would have been absorbed over the years. Yeah, and you see the remnants of that sometimes. So every now and again, you see a white guy and he looks, a bit swarthy. And you're thinking, what's going on there? And then you find, and then you probably realize that his great grandfather was a black man. So there is that. But sorry, Mike, continue.
Let's finish up.
Yes, the last slide is what
I feel like giving away a T-shirt, so I'll give instructions on that at the end of the chat. But
so yeah, what can we do? What can we do? Is the question. What can we do? Yeah. And that image there, hopefully that's not African Americans coming for the Brits.
That's Nat Turner.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's not that.
The great unsung motion picture.
Well, what I should have done if I had more time.
Played by a proud Black American.
Yeah.
You know what I've done?
One of the few opportunities we've had to portray a historical figure.
Mike, if I had more time, what I'd have done, I'd have took Nate Parker's head out, and I'd have superimposed Eric's head on that. Yeah, as he's chasing the Brits, out, all the British actors.
Oh,
I missed the trick there.
Well, the guy. Wait, I can't. The guy at the far right, he seems like a little extra happy to be in the movie. Like he looks like he's channeling something, and maybe one of these guys might be British. We don't know.
That looks like he looks like he's real for him.
He's like,
he doesn't look like he's acting.
But that just shows how great a director Nate Parker is.
Yeah.
To get that reaction out of him.
To get them hyped up. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for those who haven't seen Birth of a Nation, that's the inverse of Queen and Slim for me. But anyway.
That film for me was I kind of resent it a little bit because I felt it was trickery, because I had to sit through so much horror, just to get to the good part, where they're doing that, which was like about, what would you say, 3% of the film?
Well, as I said in the last Q&A or the last podcast, not enough white death for my personal taste.
3% retribution. I thought the film was going to be like 90% retribution, but it was like 97% suffering and horror, Eric, and then it's like 3% retribution, 2% retribution. Then he gets caught.
Hey, it's Hollywood, brother. It's Hollywood, brother.
And then I've never seen the ending. I left the cinema. As he got caught. When he got caught, I left the cinema. I thought, I don't want to see this.
Rewind the 3 minutes and play it in a loop if that's what you need for your catharsis. But I mean, it's the best they could do in 2019 or something like that.
Hollywood, man, they wasn't going to allow too much of that to happen,
No, I mean, but I feel for Nate Parker. He really sacrificed his career to get that movie made. So
yeah, like I say, it's a good effort. Yeah,
I mean, they didn't want that movie made at all. So to get 3 minutes of that is
better than anything, isn't it?
And that's a story they don't want told. And they're trying to keep it out of history books and all that stuff.
Who remembers the 3 minutes in Goodbye Uncle Tom?
Well, that's on the channel, so people can watch that as soon as we're done here. You can flip over and
The
watch
last 3 minutes of that. Remember the last 3 minutes of that?
Well, that was plugged in. That's not in the international version. That's only in the American release.
All right, Uncle Tom.
It's about the pain of slavery, and they use real like Haitian Americans to reenact all these slave scenes. So it's a very, very treacherous movie.
That's the worst.
It's probably as close
accurate
to the reality. Yes, accuracy. Probably as close to what the real institution of slavery was like compared to Roots and some of the
you watch that film. You watch that film, Eric. It's like you feel like you're there. It's really, really bizarre. You feel like it's they've done it almost like it's a fly on the wall. It's like someone went back in time and just filmed it. It's crazy.
Yeah, we're talking about Goodbye Uncle Tom for those who are just picking up what we went on a tangent there.
Yeah, but if you have to have a strong stomach to be able to watch that, though, Eric.
Yeah, I've grown up with, like I said, parents that are active in the civil rights, and my mother was a teacher, my teachers and stuff, and my family parents were very up on making sure we knew the history. So, like I said, seeing images of Emmett Till and various other things I'm very, very aware of. So, unfortunately, we've had to be cognizant of that type of BS forever. So.
So the question is, what can we do?
What can we do? So I'll let Eric answer that one.
Yeah, well, what we can do is continue to support each other. What we can do is not divide ourselves and not, let that be a cause of division, but a cause of unification. I would think that, like I said, I want to see us doing movies where we got our own. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Queen Sonos on Netflix. They only did one season. It takes place in South Africa. It's not British, but it's a spy movie. The sister's a secret agent. But I want to see, why can't we have our spy movies, black Brits and black Americans, and have those type of the same type of films you see them doing, big Hollywood films. I want to see the global diaspora of black people in movies. And I think, that's what global white supremacy is afraid of, that we are uniting and controlling our image the world over. I think that is something that those who are against us doing that is probably their worst nightmare. That's really what I want to see more. I want to be in a movie with some black British brothers. Years ago at one of the early black congressional conferences, Congressional Black Caucus conferences, I met this brother who came up to me, recognized my work in Malcolm and I think it was School Days at the time, and Juice and things like that. And he was an actor, British brother. He was an actor. And so we chopped it up. I was talking to him. I was like, okay, that's what's up. Years later, he was cast in Amistad, playing the guy who was challenging Jaimin's character a lot, another tall brother and stuff like that. The one that ended up actually becoming a Christian, was carrying the Bible all the time. And I happened to go to the set because Ruth Carter, old classmate, was the costume designer, and happened to see him that day. We kind of connected, we caught up, but it was good to see him working in such a high profile film. But definitely I want to see us coming together, doing more work across the pond, and kind of working to weed out the division that I don't even know if the powers that be, but if all the powers that be are doing it intentionally, I just think it's subconscious that they get that feeling of familiarity, so. But yeah, definitely, I think what we can do about it is strive to work together and support each other.
Okay. So I'm in agreement with that, but because you're taking on debate, I'll be the contrarian. I'll be like,
hell no.
Well, a few people have mentioned things in the chat that we should stop supporting films that don't ring true to us. I mean, the problem is these films, they serve a global market. And I see the problem as we're letting non-American companies come in and finance our stories and tell the stories for us, right? So why it took a French company to decide to make a Martin Luther King drama is something that should be questioned. Why is it that no American studio wanted to tackle a film like that, like Selma?
Mm.
I always say follow the money, So I don't have any issue with an actor getting a job that he competed for or is deserving of because he's the best for the role in the opinion of the filmmakers, the producer, the director, what have you. I take greater offense when it's somebody chosen for box office reasons, like, and somebody brought it up in the chat, Zoe Saldana playing Nina Simone. I mean, to me, that's just a travesty. But I mean, for all intents and purposes, the movies that we've discussed tonight, the actors that were chosen did a pretty good job. Now, I do agree with people in the chat that was saying Viola Davis would have been perfect as Harriet Tubman. I completely agree with that. Why she's not available and Cynthia Erivo is, that's a political question I don't have the answer to. I don't have any privy to the rationale. Why not get the best actress of our time to play Harriet Tubman? Why is that not in the conversation?
They're saving it for the sequel.
Well, the problem is when you do a biopic, that's it. That you're cemented and you're fixed in time. Jackie Robinson is Chadwick Boseman, whether you like it or not. For especially when it comes to Black characterizations, we only get one shot at these things.
So the original Jackie Robinson playing himself.
True. Well, you got to go back. I mean, who's alive that remembers that? Opening. Who was there opening day on Jackie Robinson's story? To protest Chadwick Boseman being cast. So yeah, you gotta go 3 generations before we get another one. But so when the pattern hit and you just saw it over and over again, my initial reaction was, okay, this is the same thing that we're talking about in terms of regular jobs, people like this fear, this threat that immigrants are somehow taking jobs away from Americans. It's like, well, the typical American don't want to work at 7-Eleven, you know what I mean? So but this I understand is a little bit different because it's acting, but it comes from the same spirit. But in the spirit of being in this true spirit of debate, we need to finance our own movies.
Yes,
we have to stop looking to the man to answer questions for us, or else we're always going to be handed scraps. We're always going to be looking for saying, "Oh, that could have been done better, or could have been done differently." Mm-hmm. We have no stake in the game when it comes to financing these films, and that's why we're always complaining, right? And that's until we not only spend our own money to make our own films and tell our own stories at the level that Hollywood does it. And at the same time, we have to support these films when they do come out, because there are lots of brothers and sisters that are taking what resources they have and trying to make movies or making movies. I shouldn't even use the word try. We're making our movies, but we don't always support them. Right. So that's what we can do is stop complaining about this after the fact and be more proactive. We had literally, film has been around for 110 years since the invention of film cameras, right? Maybe 115 years, something like that. How many opportunities were there before Cynthia Erivo to tell the Harriet Tubman story? That's a public domain, right? Now, Ruby Dee played it on television and all that other stuff, but you can't tell me that there could not have been financing made to tell that story from an American perspective and starring American actors if that was desired. But instead, we waited for Seagrams to decide to finance Harriet, and this is what we get. So we have no right to complain unless we have stake in the game.
It's true. Finance our own films, distribute our own films as well. You know, we need to have it from the beginning to the end, the whole gamut of it. You know,
Right.
and I think that's a lot of the powers that be are probably afraid of that. Once we unify and we're supporting each other, the market is the world over. You know, I mean, you know, the statistics, they might want to hide the statistics that there are more people of color in the world than other people that are not of color.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe that if you watch TV, though, would you?
Right.
You never believe that.
Right.
The dominant culture. Well, I mean, until we have our own and we can control our own, we're going to keep getting the same over and over again. And I do believe it's by design. I do respect the contrarian voices that are challenging the status quo.
Yeah.
Whether we like it or not or whatever. I mean, I'm trying to bring it back around to our initial discussion with Kanye. You know, but you know, things need to change. But I have no gripe against qualified actors playing roles, you know, because ultimately, if you say only a Black American can play a Black American, only a gay can play a gay, only a deaf person can play a deaf person, then you're losing the whole purpose of the illusion of film. And I understand why it's justified now, because we've gotten very harmful stereotypical portrayals of minorities, quote unquote minorities, Asian Americans, Black Americans, when we didn't have power, so to speak. But at the same time, when you say that, you limit the advancement of our own voice. You know, I'm a filmmaker, you know, I mean, I choose to tell stories about Black people because my feeling is if I don't use my time here on earth to amplify those voices and tell those stories, then nobody else will. But I still think it's unfair to limit someone like, say, an Antoine Fuqua from telling, like, if they remake Goodfellas, I'd love to see an Antoine Fuqua get the opportunity to direct that with Italian American cast. You know what I mean? So I think that you know, being too nail on the head about representation ultimately is a self-limiting thing, and it just reinforces white supremacy in the fact that when they do decide to stop financing Black movies, and we put all of our energy into their system, and we've not come out with anything of our own, then they can say, well, we're not doing this anymore. It's up to you to do it. And we're just going to hire white directors to direct white movies from now on, you know? And that is very close to happening if you follow what's going on with Warner Brothers Discovery. You know, a lot of these programs are being pulled back now that we're hitting this recessionary period. You know, so the door is slowly closing on opportunities for Black people behind the scenes. If you got in, good for you. But hopefully, once you're in, you'll leave the door open so that more people get in, and you're not doing that Tyler Perry stuff where you're saying, I want, you know, I don't want unqualified people to get in the door. No, everybody should come in the door now and learn how to do it.
So get the experience. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So that they can take that knowledge and energy back and teach other people. I think that's what was missing the last go round, the end of the civil rights movement, beginning of the 80s. Everybody thought that we overcame, and nobody chose to very few people, I'm not gonna say nobody, very few people chose to give back. And you know, that's all I got.
You know, it's like the 80s. You know, I've often thought about that because I'm kind of
shout out to Spike Lee.
Fit right in that generation of the 80s, being in my 20s around that time. And like I said, my parents were of the civil rights, the MLK's civil rights generation. And I thought about that. You know, did we, like Black Lives Matter? I mean, we were doing protests about divesting out of South Africa, but was it as intense to get Mr. Mandela out? It was intense, but I think that my generation came with the thing, right out of that, where things got a little bit better because of the battles fought in the 60s and 70s. And by the time we came of age in the 80s, we were, those of us whose where families were in a position to take advantage of those opportunities that you talked about earlier, that separated the underclass, that separated us into those two classes, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
I think that kind of bougie suburban that second generation of suburbanites in the 70s, kind of laid back, they came of age and said, okay, things are cool now. The little cocoon world that was created for us that grew up in the suburbs by our parents to protect us from what was happening when they, quote, escaped. And I'm not going to say that about our area. I guess people would look at it that way, but people were looking for a better school system. We're concerned about, the city I was born in, Newark at the time, was going through that turmoil. And so my parents chose to move out. My father still had his business there. Still, the rest of our family, a lot of other family members still live, but took advantage of that opportunity. And so I'm questioning myself, did our generation lay back a little bit because all of a sudden we were able to enjoy freedoms and opportunities that our parents didn't? And maybe other people that came of age, or in the chat that came of age around that time, you guys.
Well, what you're saying makes me think of the King quote that Harry Belafonte always references, where he's, where integration was the goal of the civil rights movement. But he also says, my fear is that we're integrating into a burning house.
Right.
So, in the 80s with the Cosby Show and all that other stuff, the ideal was to assimilate into the American dream. And the generations prior to that assimilated into an American dream, but it was somewhat segregated. So the systems, we had our own system of survival prior to integration that allowed for people to see success outside of television.
Right.
I think that tube really screwed up a lot of people in the head, where it's like, okay, well, the only way for me to be successful in this life is to be this way or the other, Lil Wayne or Kanye West or whatever, the polarity of Black identity. And, oh, by the way, we won another award, folks. We won at the Gary International Film Festival, Charles Woods and I, for From Slavery to Freedom. But I mean, one of the points of thank you. One of the points of the films that we're doing with Charles is to show that as much as we feel that we're free, a lot of our sense of identity exists within white imagination. A lot of what we consider to be Black or Blackness exists as a result of our having to survive through this maze of white supremacy. So, I say all that to say, I don't know what I was saying, but you got Mike to be a little passionate. Yeah, I mean, we integrated into a burning house, I think. And I think
draws on. No.
And I think also there's a video on the channel with Maya Angelou, One-on-One, it's called. Maya Angelou One-on-One. And she says that a lot of information was lost in the transition in the civil rights movement, with people thinking if they just sent their kids to great schools, like everything will be okay. And I'm certainly a victim of that, where the end game for my family was to get me to graduate college. That was the happiest day of my grandmother's life, was my graduation. And that did not necessarily set me up for success in the real world, but it was her end game, her white picket fence,
Because what they had experienced during the course of their lifetime. So that was the measure of achievement, us going to college and making sure our generation entered college. I mean, like
absolutely,
said, the business that
and education is important.
Exactly.
I'm not knocking my education, but
the business that we're in, do you really need a college degree? I don't. Great.
It pays to be smart. Yeah. But I think what Maya Angelou is saying in that quote is that the ball was dropped by thinking that putting the answer was integration and putting your family into a white educational system.
Right.
You know, because they're not going to teach you all the things that you need to know.
Yeah. What you're saying is you become useless to your people by doing so, don't you? That's what
Well,
she's
you have to learn it a different way.
Right.
You have to learn it a different way.
Well, because usually what happens is when you go through that system, you want to take a different direction, don't you? And that direction doesn't normally bring you back to where you started. It's normally taking you in further away from where you started. So, so what you've learned, you're not necessarily always taking back. Yeah.
Well, you're trying to get a false sense of what your path is and the limitations. I mean, you have, you know, I think with us, the education was there, and those our people wanted us to get the education and like this man put us in that environment. But still, once we were in that environment, we might have been, you know, the whole thing about integration, you know, a lot of the other people that were against us so much, the supremacists, was that we wanted to be next to them. We wanted to be around white people. We wanted to be next to our children. We didn't want to be, it wasn't that. It was that it wasn't separate and equal. It was separate and unequal. And their kids had the best school system, the best books, the best facilities. So the black parents knew that at least if we have our children in a classroom with them, they'll at least have an opportunity. Now, the insidious nature of the racism that the kids that we would find, those of us that grew up in those environments, that we would have to battle as children, not knowing that, you know, that's another thing, because I often thought that at that time, and we have some schools now, that we as a people needed our own versions of Hebrew school, what the Catholic kids would go, well, that's the Catholic school or whatever they would go to afterwards. We as a people never had that. So we were dependent on our parents and people who didn't have parents who were aware of their history, knowledge of self, and who actively had to fight against that and educate their children along the way on top of the generic education that they were getting from the American school system. We never had a system to say black school. After school, send your kids to Marcus Garvey Academy so they could learn about their people and their culture. That's what we needed. And as a matter of fact, let me just we'll say how proud I am of my father, wrote legislation here in New Jersey called the Amistad legislation, which was passed. We just had the 20th anniversary the other night, where they celebrated the passing of the legislation and the institution of a commission to see that all schools in New Jersey include and have a comprehensive approach to African-American history in all social studies courses, not throughout the year, not just during Black History Month. And so we have a Democratic governor here, very supportive. We have a great organization and commission of people that's trying to do it to teach Black and white kids, because African-American history is American history. So, and that's what we need, you know.
You know, every time I hear Eric speak, guys at home watching, I like this guy even more. Yeah,
my brother.
This guy is the truth. Honestly, this guy's the truth. And those of you who might not be familiar with him, Eric also appeared in some of my favorite movies as well. Yeah, I'm gonna have to rewatch them to spot you now, Eric. But Eric was in Malcolm X. Yeah. He was in School Days, in She's Got to Have It. I haven't seen that in a long time though. She's Got to Have It. Do the Right Thing as well. Yeah, been in some great movies. So,
which dog are you, Eric? And She's Got to Have It. Dog number 6.
She's Got to Have It. Yeah, I think I'm dog number 6. I'm the one that kind of has the little longest.
What does it say, Jason? Which dog?
Oh, he's dog number. Where is it?
Are you lost the page?
Dog number 5.
Number 5. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the one. You're so fine. I drink a tub of your back.
I haven't seen that. I need to rewatch that. I watched that. I think I only watched that once, and I was very young. So I think a lot of the things were probably lost on me because I was too young to understand.
Yeah.
I think I was
been watching if you were that young.
This is
I used to. I don't know what it was like in the US, but I used to go to the video corner stores used to have the video selection.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd go there at I'd be like 11 years old. I'd be renting like Rambo, you know, and, and things like that. And as long as I had my, I think it was like maybe £2 or £1.50 or something like that, you know, $2, right? They didn't care to give them the money. Then they just give you the movie that's like, you know.
Yeah, we need to clean up your reel, Eric, so we can play it.
Yeah, I got to clean that up.
Yeah, right? Clean that reel up. But he says, I don't know what your line was, but I like you got me on the. She's got to have a kick. This is
hey, girl,
I've got 8 inches.
What happened to that lady anyway? What happened to the lady from She's Gotta Have It? I don't remember.
She's around. She's around.
Yeah, she's around. She hasn't. I mean, I haven't seen her doing a lot of acting work. She might be doing something else these days. I'll tell you guys a backstory behind She's Gotta Have It. Many of you might be familiar with Spike's movie Crooklyn, about the death of his mother and stuff like that. I first met Spike. I was doing a play in New York at the New York Shakespeare Festival / Public Theater, and it was a play about a black college, written by Gerard Brown, who wrote Juice. And so Spike came and saw me there, and he had a film he was working on at the time. I'm sorry, my chair is. He had a film that he was working on at the time called Messenger. And it was about the death of his mother. Bicycle Messenger was based on him. And so he came and saw me in his play, and I get a call at home. My sister left a message for me. Said, hey, you got a call from a guy named Spike. And I thought you messed up the message. And I said, what do you mean, Spike? Don't you mean Mike? Because I'm thinking, what kind of name is that for a brother? Called him up. He said, I saw you in this play. I'm doing this film. Messenger wants you to come audition. Make a long story short, I got the role. We were in rehearsal for 2 weeks. And the weekend before we're supposed to start shooting, the executive producer comes and says, I'm not going to be able to raise the money. So the entire thing was scrapped. I'm playing the lead in the film. I tried to tell Spike, you don't have to pay me because give me an opportunity to play a lead in a movie. And I was in rehearsal for 2 weeks, just me and Spike. We got to be friends, got to be close. And he said, we'll work together. And that's how he ended up writing She's Gotta Have It. And the rest, as I say, is history. So, and Messenger eventually became Crooklyn. And I've got some of that Messenger memorabilia in storage, so I'm going to break it out and probably post it on my Instagram channel one of these days, and so people.
Yeah, if you find the script, I'd love to see the differences. But
yeah.
And Criterion, you need to work on that. She's got to have a Blu-ray. We need that in the culture, but not for white validation, but because you put it out on Laserdisc, 30 odd years ago. So I know that you still have the extras. Okay, well, any final thoughts? I mean, we went through everything. I just, it's over 100 comments. I just don't know if we have enough time to go through.
By the way, yeah, Crooklyn, that's Delroy Lindo, right?
Yeah, Delroy.
Delroy Lindo is another. He's a secret Brit. Delroy Lindo.
Is he from West Indies?
No, he's born in England.
Oh, really?
He's born in England. Yeah, he's born in England. I think he moved to the US when he was like 5 or something like that.
He was in an interracial Shakespearean company at the Public Theater at the same time we were doing Jonan with Estelle Parsons, old school white actress, and yeah, he's really good. He does an excellent job in Malcolm X with West Indian Archie.
Oh yeah. His parents are Jamaican anyway, so he's able to just pull it off easily. Yeah, I really like that character, West Indian Archie. Yeah, very very good job in that.
Yeah, as well as everything else he does. He's just,
Oh yeah, what's the couple of recent films I saw him in? He was really good in Five of the Bloods.
Right.
5 Bloods. Yeah.
I thought he was there. I loved him in that. I thought he was really good. Played that part really
guys. Well. Okay, we got 100 people watching this. We got 100 people watching this. I got to cut you off.
Okay.
But I will say that Tracy Camilla Johns from She's Gotta Have It makes a cameo appearance in The Sweet Blood of Jesus as a church woman.
Really? Wow.
So she shows up, and apparently she's found God, and so she played that part. It's very similar to what she's doing now. So, no, not Sweet. Was it Sweet? No, which one? Not Sweet Blood of Jesus. The Red Hook Summer. Pardon me. Red Hook Summer, the one about the church. Sort of. I have a whole theory about Red Hook Summer being Spike Lee's interpretation of what Tyler Perry does and all that other stuff. So, but gentlemen, thank you. I want to thank you. Any final thoughts? Any closing comments or anything you want to say? Jason?
I think Eric did a great job with his last one on what we can do. I think that's. I don't think anything else needs to be said on that one apart from again. I think that's a lot of the time, isn't it? We come to that conclusion, don't we? That do for self is the theme, isn't it? And I don't think we can say that enough. I know we say it a lot, but I don't think we can say it enough. It needs to be a mantra. It needs to go into our subconscious. Do for self, do for self, do for self, do over and over again.
And stop waiting for permission. Just like you made your book.
I wasn't going to go to a publisher. I wasn't going to go to a publisher.
Out there in the world.
Wasn't going to. A publisher would want me to change it, or take things out, compromise myself. And I was like, no, I'm not writing it to make any concessions.
My man Nate Parker, he saw a need. He went out, risked his career to do Nat Turner. So why when the dominant culture decides they want to tell a story about one of our heroes, we get upset all the time. Like, oh, that's not the way it should have been done. It's like, well, you had years to do this yourself. Even if you had to shoot on a Viewmaster, it would have existed. So, and I say that now because this time next year we'll be making a plea for you to support our big feature film. We love winning the best short documentary awards, but what we want to do is bigger stuff that amplifies our voice. So please continue to check us out, share this live with others, and support Jason by buying his book. Support Eric by go to
check my Instagram, Eric Payne _ Freedom Fighter. I'm on IMDb, and also go to Peabody Entertainment on YouTube. My sister and I have produced a show called Off the Beaten Path about Black memorabilia collectibles.
Right. So we're about empowerment here. Somebody said you look like Boyce Watkins today.
That's why I took my glasses off, because I check Boyce out every once in a while, but I don't know why he was mad at Nori for apologizing. He seemed to be incensed about that. But
well, anyway, I was
just
bringing his name up because one of the things that Boyce is used to say.
Don't disrespect Boyce if you're watching Boyce.
I haven't checked out Boyce in a while, but I mean, not since he got his veneers. I haven't seen.
He's lost weight. He's looking good, actually. I know he does a lot of. I think he runs marathons now.
Pilates, is that it?
I'm cool with brother Boyce.
I love Boyce. Boyce
is very good.
I'm just nudging the Boyce fans. That's all. love Boyce. I met him. We took pictures together. He's a fan of the show. All that good stuff. But or I should say, he knows me. That's the Dick Gregory quote. I don't know Boyce, but he knows me.
Oh, didn't he say that about Prince? Is that Prince?
Was the reference? You got the reference. So anyway, one of the things he used to say is like, you support, you work all 9 to 5, going into these buildings with these big names, on the sign or whatever. But every business that you can think of, every big skyscraper with a name on it started out with one person with one idea. And we excel in entertainment, why we don't own things, or why we don't own more things. It's not. That needs to stop. There's enough wealth out there for us to control more of this intellectual property.
Certainly.
And a lot of these historical figures exist in the public domain, so and I listened to, just to go back on what we were saying before about Woman King, I listened to WTF with Mark Maron. He had who's the guy, Skip Gates on this week, and he kind of laughed at Woman King. He said that was it. He didn't take it personally, but he said that was way off historically. So I go back a little bit on what we were saying in our last discussion, because taking it from Skip Gates, I think my understanding is Hollywood took a way too much liberty on Woman King for it to be a valid motion picture, but it was very entertaining, and I think it's still good for young girls to see images like that. So but I would also encourage people to check out that Skip Gates interview and check out his new show, that's playing now, Making Black America. So,
Yeah. I checked out the first episode. I got to catch up on the other episodes.
yeah. So that's all I got. But Jason, I know it's late where you are. But we did over 2 hours. So
this coffee worked.
I wouldn't drink coffee at 1 a.m, but thank you for doing that.
I won't be going to sleep, put it that way. Once I sign off. Might do some work.
I understand.
Might go for a run.
All right. Just checking the chats real quick. So I'm taking a break for about 10 days from doing the DJ sets in the morning, but I may pop in and do some surprise lives while I'm away. I'm taking a writing sabbatical. I need some time off, focused time off, just to get done the things that I promised myself that I would do before the end of the year. So wish me luck with that. And we'll be back in a couple weeks, Jason.
Yep.
With another hot topic. And Eric, hopefully you can join us again.
I'll be
really
great.
appreciate your company.
Yeah.
And if not, we'll be on. I still have that interview that's in the can with Leo Sullivan. So I'll get that up in the next week or two as well. So we're not going to leave you without things to watch, without content. So make sure you subscribe to Reelblack 2. I'll be posting up new content every day while I'm away. And like I said, just taking a break from doing the DJ thing for a little while. So Dawood, thank you, Dawood. Thank you, Afro Soul. And thank you, Chris. And for modding. And I think Voyeur is still here, and Mrs. Matthews. I'm just Elizabeth Frank. Thanks to everybody who participated in the chat. I'm sorry we didn't get to everybody's comments, but we'll chat soon. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Mike.
All right. Peace and blessings. All right. I'm gonna stop it now.